We are live.
We're live.
We're
Cool.
live.
We are live. What's up, everybody, and welcome to the first ever episode of UKPW Rewind, the show where we look back at UKPW history to go through some matches, but maybe in a little different way, maybe like a behind-the-scenes director's cut commentary type way. I'm your host for the day, Andy Stoddart, UKPW, I guess, producer? I don't know. What am I? I don't even know. Pro wrestling fan, Andy Stoddart. I am your host. And of course, joining me is the boss, the man who makes it rain money, brackets on a budget, Dow Jones himself, Alex Gilbert. Alex, how's it going?
Hello. Very good. I thought I'd rock my Bret Hart shirt today. I feel like
currently on internet signal strength, it looks like you're wearing a Minecraft shirt because it's all blocky. But maybe that's just my end. What's up, everyone in the chat? Hope you can see Alex a bit clearer than I can. But yeah, so basically what we're going to be doing today, going back through Dow Jones versus Ashmore, 7th of April, 2017 in a steel cage match. Alex is going to be giving us some insight around it. I'm going to be asking him some questions. By all means, in the chat, whether you be on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, ask questions, get involved. This is a good opportunity to ask what goes into wanting to throw yourself into a metal cage. So we've got a few things to look at. We've got like the hype video of where we are, and then we're going to watch the match in full. I believe, Alex, the first time the match has been broadcast. Am I correct?
Indeed, yeah. I'll go into a little bit of detail. It's one of these matches where I was a bit like, I need to edit it really well. I need to put myself out there in the best possible way, and then time gets away, and then it actually never got released. So here it is.
So your favorite match and what you would consider the biggest main event is the one that time got away from. All right, that makes a lot of sense. But what I like to think is that we were saving it for today for this series. By all means, of course, this is the pilot episode. We're still trialing some streaming, some different bits and pieces with video. By all means, if you want to throw in the chat other matches you'd like to see in this kind of format, either live in the chat right now, or if you're watching the on-demand version, leave us in the comments what matches you want to see, what matches you want to hear more about. So looking at this cage match, I just want to ask you a real question. And this is a serious question I'm going to hit right off the bat. The question that people want to know. Would Dow Jones consider calling his fans the 101 Dalmatians?
Yeah, why not?
There we go. That's the kind of content you're going to be getting right here on the UKPW YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook live streams. So take us back to this match. Like, how is it? For me, cage matches have always been sort of quite a mythical thing in live. You see them on TV, you see them on pay-per-view. For me, I've been to wrestling shows for 20 years now in the UK, the United States, in Japan. This is the only cage match I've ever seen in person. So, I mean, talk us through, like, how logistically does it change having to get a cage in? Because obviously with the setup that we use in that arena, you can't suspend it from the ceiling and down. How do you go around getting a cage? Do you just sellotape it to the ring? Talk us through actually the logistics of getting a cage match on.
Man, I wish it was easy as just sellotaping it to the cage. Well, firstly, yeah, you're right. People don't see cage matches in often, at least in the UK. In America, indie wrestling might be a little bit different, but in the UK, it is a little bit different. So, I suppose the start was I went to like a training seminar. It was a work-related thing, and in there.
So when you say training, you don't mean wrestling training. You mean like some kind of product boring training.
Yeah, right. I was in this sort of like work-related seminar, and the trainer was talking about when you look at successful people, they don't wait for an opportunity. They literally go get it. And so it sort of stuck with me. There was more to it than that. But then it made me go, oh, yeah, actually, realistically, how much more wrestling can I do? And realistically, what are my ultimate goals? So I basically wrote them down. And on that list was, I'd love to wrestle in a cage match. And again, maybe it comes from childhood. I mean, the Bret Hart, Owen Hart cage match was one of my absolute favorites. Even if we talk wrestling figures, I used to secretly like the WCW ring more than the WWF one because it came with a cage. So I've always loved this cage thing. So then started going, right, okay, I'm going to talk to Anton, the promoter, and say, right, I want to do a cage match. That is what I want to do. So I asked him, and he's like, yeah, I'm not against it. Just how'd you get a cage?
I
Great
think that's the
question.
question on most people's minds. Like, do you just know a Cage guy? Is there a Cage guy? Do you call Christian Cage, Brian Cage, Diamond Dallas Page? How do you get a Cage to Gillingham other than stealing one from a prison, of which there are plentiful around, to be fair?
So essentially, I started asking everyone I knew. So before 2016, I'd done shows up and down the country and lots of little spot shows here and there. So you meet people and you start chatting. So I essentially just asked people, do you know anyone with a cage? And a few names cropped up. Yeah, this promotion's got a cage. This promotion's got a cage. So anyway, I'll fast forward the story. And essentially what happened was I said to Anton Green, who was the promoter at the time, I went, I really, really think we can do a cage match. Here's some people that provide the cages. You pay extra, and to reveal the curtain probably a bit too much. You're probably doubling, maybe trebling your cost. So if you're used to putting on a show, let's just chuck random numbers out there. Let's say it costs you £500 to get a ring to the venue. A cage is now going to cost you double that minimum, because of course it's logistics, but also it's the fact that it's a cage, it's been manufactured. So convincing Anton, by the way, I want to double your production cost. As you can imagine, that was not an easy conversation.
Like I said, the man that makes it rain money on a reasonable budget.
Exactly. So I think I mentioned it in one of my previous interviews. What I did, I said to Anton, look, I believe that if you do a cage match, you're going to pull in more people and you'll be able to make that money back. But if you don't, here is a down payment, here is a deposit so that you don't lose money. Because I was being very selfish, really. I was like, I want to wrestle in a cage. I'm going to make things happen. So I'm going to pay because I'm never going to get this opportunity again. So in fairness to Anton, I must clarify, he never actually did take any money from me. I must stress that point now. So that was there as a safety net for him if he needed it. Turns out, spoilers, we didn't need it. So once we'd organised the cage, and for the record, it's from the guys down at Slam Wrestling. They came down and did it all. So what was frustrating was by the time they got down, it's not their fault. Let me clarify, not their fault at all. But it takes a long time to set up the cage, so we didn't actually get to do any run through. So we're going into the cage, me and Ashmore, and we haven't talked about Ashmore enough yet, but Ashmore is
we're
good.
definitely getting on to him, yeah.
Yeah, he's so good. But I felt bad for him because, of course, if we'd be really honest, Ashmore's up here, I'm down here. So Ashmore probably wanted to run through the cage with me to make sure he weren't going to have a rubbish match, while I'm just happy to be there. Like, yeah, this is going to be great. So we didn't get to do a run through like in the cage. So the one thing that was slightly worrying was we didn't know how easy it would be to climb the cage. We didn't know how we'd be able to work with the cage. We didn't know what would look good, what wouldn't look good on camera. It was all very going in blind. But the short answer to your question, Andy, was we contacted the guys at Slam Wrestling. They came down with their ring and their cage. And a bit of a tidbit was that when we announced the cage, another promotion nearby did another cage match the week before.
You're telling me I could have seen 2 cage matches in the recent period? I said I've never seen one anywhere. Madison Square Garden, Tokyo Dome, no cage matches.
But there were 2 in Gillingham.
God damn it, man.
So a promotion ran a show a week before us, and they did a cage as well. And fine, that these things happen. So it was secretly quite nice to go watch that show and then understand how did the cage work? How did the audience react to it? And we had a bit of a saving grace because at their venue, because it was a bit smaller, health and safety, they had to get rid of the audience at interval. The interval.
Oh, right, they had to get everyone to go out to set it up.
Yeah.
Is this why the preferred option is dum 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 dum?
Yeah. So when we went to Medway Park, we checked with them, and they were like, "Yeah, as long as the audience are X amount of distance
we don't
away."
care about people's safety here. Throw it on.
So yeah, so essentially,
have you one of them exploding ring barbed wire deathmatch sparkler matches? Get one of them in.
Oh my god, a sparkler match sounds amazing.
I mean, it would have looked better. All right, cool. I mean, that's a lot of background. I'm sure we'll talk about a bit more about the kind of setup and how it differs being when we're going through the match. But do you want to throw on that hype video of looking at how this came to be?
Yeah, so I'll give a bit of preamble, because this is why I think now I'm incredibly happy, because this was my first taste of promotion. Because it was like, right, I'm putting my neck on the line with the budget, but also I want there to be 250, 300 people. So I thought, let me try and create a video that's going to be an advert on Facebook. So we have quite a good following on Facebook. Let's put a video out there, because my theory was, if you can make it look like you're about to miss something really cool, people are going to want to buy tickets. So with that mindset, I want to make UKPW look great. Let's build up a match. This is what we ended up with. So here we go.
That's right. Me, Dow Jones, the handsome guy in that picture, will be taking on Pilot Ashmore, arguably one of United Kingdom professional wrestling's best wrestlers, and we will both face each other at Medway Park on April 9th in a, yes, that's right, a steel cage match. That's right, can't say it enough, Jones versus Ashmore. For those of you that haven't seen UKPW wrestling, here's a couple of clips. Ignore that one of me being hit, and ignore this one. That doesn't happen often. Here's me against the guy. Just ignore that one again. Hey, there I am, Dow Jones, handsome guy. Money suits and tassels galore. Some people say that's what I'm known for. I would say it's my amazing wrestling skills, but that's beside the point right now. Because when I'm in, Kyle Ashmore, myself in a cage. Here's a. Okay, he's pretty. Okay, he's pretty good. Point, Dow Jones, me, yeah, brilliant.
I'm a big fan of not even trying to hide that it's Dow Jones doing the narration of the advert for his own match.
April 9th, Medway Park.
Yeah, so the idea of that video was to put over the fact that Kyle Ashmore is amazing. And oh, I don't know what's happened to the graphics, but we'll keep going with it. So yeah, so that video went out, and that video eventually got seen by 7,500 people, which was fantastic exposure, obviously, for myself and for Ashmore. But of course, more importantly, there was a direct correlation between the video and ticket sales. And UKPW traditionally has on the door ticket sales, but with this cage match, I believe, I can only go by, but I believe it sold after a week of that video, 80 tickets had been sold, which might not sound like loads, but generally we were only dealing with 10 before. So the video definitely helped. So all of a sudden, I was thinking, this is going to be a good day. This is going to be an excellent show, and I cannot wait.
Yeah, I think that's totally. I remember being there as well, and the people behind me had clearly turned up on the basis of cage match. Like, one of the guys that was talking to the rest of, I don't know if it was his family, his friends, whatever, they were talking about, basically the guy was just running through like bits about all the wrestlers that were coming out and stuff. And I distinctly remember this guy turns around to the rest of his friends before this match saying, these kids are going to go mental when that Dow Jones comes out. They hate him. So I think not only the cage match, the possibility of seeing an ass kicker like Ashmore kill Dow Jones in a cage match was definitely something people wanted to see. And I think, like you say, people see that video, they say, "Oh, cage match." It's not something you see often. And, even if I think on TV, like I haven't seen a cage match for a while. Like I think like AEW have done like one, I think, the Cody one. And then I can't remember the last WWE one I saw. Like I watched a lot of Japan's got a lot of cage matches going on there. And for me, cage is always going to be entertaining. I distinctly remember buying a WCW, I think it was Slamboree 99 VHS. Kids, you're probably going to have to Google a lot of those words, but they did all exist at one point. With that triple cage, and you're just like, what is going on in this David Arquette, Jeff Jarrett, DDP cage thing? So yeah, I think it's definitely a thing that people want to see, and it's a spectacle, isn't it? Like, and that is what pro wrestling is in a nutshell. And again, something you don't see. And again, you're not running cage matches every weekend now. I mean, no one's running any matches at the moment, but you're not running cage matches every weekend. It's an attraction, right? So that does draw in, again, people that aren't the regulars, people that aren't just like, oh, I want to see Dow Jones get hit. It's like, I want to see Dow Jones get hit surrounded by metal that will hurt more. So, all right, great.
Well, the story.
We've got Fenty Taurus in the chat saying, greetings from Twitch. Greetings to Twitch.
Good greetings to Twitch, indeed. Yeah, the story going into the cage. So I always wanted to do the cage thing, and it was like, right, okay, well, what story can we tell that's going to necessitate the cage? So there was an original story that didn't quite happen. So the original layout, it was almost a year ahead of time. So the idea was that I was going to win the UKPW title against James Mason, legendary wrestler James Mason. And the idea was for about almost a year, I would be taking on various wrestlers, good ones, and I would find a way.
Good ones.
Yeah, really, really good. I mean, I'll be completely frank, I am not the greatest wrestler of all time. Spoilers. But I wanted to wrestle.
I don't know about that.
The championships say differently.
I mean, you could be.
It could be. No matches for a year. I could be the best. Yeah, sorry. So the idea was I would win the belt and then essentially would find different ways of winning matches in a cheaty kind of way. And then eventually the idea would be that Ashmore would go, no, I've had enough of this. And what I wanted to do, or what I pitched to Anton, was have a title versus title match. So have the UKPW title against the Inter-Regional Championship, which Ashmore was going to win. And the idea then have this big headline match, big super duper cage match. Dow Jones can't run away, therefore we're gonna see a winner. That was the idea.
Ultimate challenge in a cage. You just have to one-up them. Just do one more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the problem though was when it came to me winning the title, Anton, I think, did me a favour. He was like, look, I'd love you to win it against Mason at this particular show. That show didn't draw very well. So Anton was like, we're not going to do it. And also he politely said, you don't actually need the belt. You don't need to be the champion to still tell the story. So I took that as a bit of a compliment. But it always wound me up because it was like, well, we need a reason for the cage. So then we tweaked the story ever so slightly. So as you know, I like jokes and I like silly things. And I like getting people involved, as many people as I can. So we got Martin, the referee, involved. And so as a bit of a joke, he was saying he might shave his beard off. And I said, oh my God, Beard Ashmore is a thing. You want to shave your beard. It's
the man
tedious.
that fights for beards.
Yeah, right? So
you know what? Until you've mentioned it, I'd completely forgotten that there was some sort of beard through line going through this.
Yeah.
And then Ashmore has turned up like the Beard Avenger. Like he's Iron Man, but with a beard stuck on the helmet. Like, I don't know why I've done that. I've already got a beard. I don't need to do the beard motion, but like, that's incredible. I've completely forgotten that was a thing.
Yeah, so on the show, I cut Martin's beard, and then Ashmore makes the save. So that's the start of the feud, essentially, is I'm annoyed Ashmore's ruined my making fun of the referee moment. Anyway, so 6 months go by, and one thing to mention as well, we did have the Medway Comic and Screen Festival the week before the cage match.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
I can't thank the organisers of that enough, because that was a big event. I'm a big fan of trying to promote Medway and Kent in general. And so you have this big event with over 1,000 people there. We had Ashmore against Sammy Smooth as the opening match. Fantastic match. Then you had me versus The Nail, which was meant to be an Iron Man match, but the joke got lost because we found a guy dressed as Iron Man, and then 5 minutes before the Iron Man match, the guy was like, I'm too. So now I've got this Iron Man match with no joke. I'm like, oh, for the love of. That was the point. Anyway.
Now I got to wrestle for ages for no reason.
Yeah, there's going to be a punchline to this. So we did that, and it definitely sold extra tickets. So then the following week is the big match. But one thing to keep in mind, we don't have any video screens. The original idea was to have 2 belts on the line, and then just before we play our match, before mine and Ashmore's cage match, there was another cage match. There was a tag team cage match.
That's right, yeah. I mean, why was that? Just to kind of get use of the cage as we paid for it? We might as well do 2 matches, or was it the time to set it up?
Yeah, I would say it was more to do with get your money's worth. So the original plan, I don't think this has ever been said publicly. And I look at this sometimes and I think, oh, that would have been great. Now hopefully they won't get annoyed when I mention this, but the original tag cage match was going to be a team called D&D against Scott Starr and Sammy Smooth. So we were going to have our 4 workhorse guys in a tag match, and then the following match was going to be the pantomime, just cover all bases. And I thought that was amazing. Yeah, but I call myself a pantomime wrestler, really. But as you rightfully
no, you don't.
Yes, anyway, sorry. So that's what makes my day when you said about that crowd member saying about these kids are going to go mental. It's that I like
Absolutely,
to think, yeah, I like to think UKPW can cater to both audiences, have a really good wrestling match, but also we can get the family involvement. But yeah, sorry, there was a tag match before. It became Steve Manelli and the Nail. I think I got the order wrong. It was Trashman and the Nail against Steve Manelli and Gabe Myers, and they did a fantastic match beforehand. On a selfish note, I knew that if D&D, Scott Starr and Sammy Smooth were in the cage before, I was panicking about an anticlimax, which I won't go into yet, which is why the ending of the cage match is the way that it is. Because I thought there was going to be a workhorse match before, and I needed to think of an ending, and I pitched the ending to Ashmore, and he was very polite, and he said, "Are you sure, mate?"
Well, I'm sure we'll get to that because you were sure, and it was brutal. But I think you hit a key point there as well. Like bringing in a cage match to the tone of your show, you want to keep it in line with what the people come to see. If you'd have done an all-out bloodbath, absolutely leaking blood like a faucet, like Dusty Rhodes 1980s, everyone's gonna be like, no, this is not what I brought my children here to see. So I think it's good that you had that in mind. And yeah, straight up Fantasaurus in the chat there. Never knew it was meant to be D&D versus Smooth Star. There you go. Inside news.
I forget what the reason it didn't happen. I think it was just double booking. They couldn't physically do both shows. So yeah.
All right. Well, without further ado, then we're going to play the whole match. Like I say, you guys in the chat, do let us know if the volume is too high, too low, whatever. Also, you got any questions? Throw them in, and we'll be talking through this whole match with a bit of commentary, a bit of comments, and to enjoy this whole match in full. Dow Jones versus Ashmore, 7th of April, 2017, Steel Cage match. That's my promoter voice. I don't have a very promotery voice. So walking to the ring. The camera's getting in the ring. So this is a GoPro, am I correct in this? This isn't a camera that I forgot was in the match triple threat.
No, so I'm a big fan of this camera angle, and I think I'm the only one that is. Because I'm thinking if I was an audience member, I'd want to know what it's like being in the ring. And as you can see, we've got a GoPro on Martin's head. We've also got a GoPro at the top of the cage, which I think is pretty cool.
And I'm sure that will come into play later on. You can see, look at all the people. I'm sitting in there somewhere. I can't remember where, but I'm definitely there.
Well, one thing that I
probably
remember,
a few pounds lighter.
One thing I remember from the show was we were running a bit late. We were running late for some reason. I can't think. It wasn't the cage setup that was running it late. I seem to recall something in the interval took a bit of time, and essentially now, because how can I word it? We're now against time. We're already over our allotted time at Medway Park, and so we're being told now, like Anton is telling me and Ashmore going, look, I know you guys want to do loads of stuff. We need this match to be shorter because we need to get out. It's like, oh my God, we've still got the main event.
We'll figure it out. Just want to shout out Mitch Davis in the chat here saying, love the all black look, the cage and the ropes. It does look great. Like I remember when this was being set up, it's like, this looks way better than I thought. Like, it's a visual thing that looks impressive, like that kind of black structure with the black rings. And you said like the ring and the cage come as a set, which kind of makes sense, right? Because I think visually this looks far better than well, not that I thought it wouldn't. No. But you get different looks. I mean, you and I are both combined age of 267 years old. Our nostalgia, and I'm sure a lot of you in the chat as well, is with that big blue bar cage. But then you see the other cage. Like the cages now almost have like a 6-foot wide platform around the top of them. You just think, that's not as impressive. If I could climb up to it, I'm less impressed.
That's so true.
I feel you mentioned coming out, like climbing the cage here, how's it going to be? I still have no idea. Still no idea.
Yes.
So,
difficult.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll get to this as it goes through. So I want to talk a bit about Ashmore because he's about to come out. Like, what made Ashmore the guy? Like, obviously you had the Beard Avenger story, and obviously we know kind of what he's all about in terms of his ability. But what made, when you said, I want the cage match, what made you be like, Dow Jones, Ashmore, that's the match?
Well, I can't compliment Ashmore enough. That's the first thing I'm going to say, is that he's one of these people that, and I've said this about a few people, but Ashmore is probably the top of my list, where it's like, how are you not more famous? How are you not in the WWE? Yeah, like, because he's so, I mean, like, look at him. If you just look at, he looks like a wrestler. If you saw him, you'd be a bit scared. You know what I mean? Like, he's a tough.
I was scared. Look how vicious that high five was. He just knocked a 3-year-old flying.
And he's just, I mean, he was over with the crowd. You can get behind the guy. So when Anton said, yeah, I'm thinking about putting you and Ashmore, because it's a good, and I mean, it's not great that we haven't got Ashmore on the line now to see if this is true, but there's a fun story between me and Ashmore, because when we first met, and I think it was in 2015, I'd signed up to the Progress Wrestling beginners course. So I'd been wrestling for 6-7 years, and I was a bit like, no, I'm gonna relearn things again. So in 2015, I'd signed up to this beginners course, and Ashmore had seen that I was on the beginners course. So Ashmore's like, is this bloke like new? And then like, Anton was telling him like, no, he's perfectly fine. And then Anton,
he's just very self-deprecating.
Yeah, right. And then anyway, we had our match, and Ashmore was like, actually, that you really scared me, but actually you were all right. So it always stuck with me, like, yeah, I'm all right. If Ashmore thinks I'm all right, I'm all right. So come to the cage match, he'd had a year of brilliant matches. I'd had a year of developing the character. And so like I'm walking out here, and then I was in awe of the amount of people and the noise. I know we can't really get it across in this camera, but the noise really was loud.
I mean, straight up, like I was saying, sorry to cut you off there.
Please.
When that guy was saying these kids are going to go mental when Dow Jones comes out, like that one kid just got straight up in Dow Jones's face, straight away.
Yeah, and I'm trying to keep it together, because as weird as it sounds, I realized at this precise moment, I don't know if I'm ever going to do anything better than this. Because the whole crowd, and I mean, like Martin, I had to help with this as well. The crowd were having like Boo Dow signs. The whole crowd is getting behind this, and there's a cage. Martin is the referee. We're in my hometown. Nothing is going to be better than this. So I'm actually right now, I remember this now. I'm actually trying to gather my thoughts, because I've now forgotten what the beginning of the match is.
Yeah, what was this about? I just wanted to do this bit. See, that would be my wrestling dream. I want to make an entrance to a steel cage match. I want my music to hit, whatever that may be. I want to come out to a big crowd making some noise. I want to get in the ring. I want to stand on the top rope, and then I want to go home.
Oh, notice the chair. Sorry, just quickly, just notice the chair. We'll come back to that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the Dow Jones trademark as well, the lime green chair. You can see Dow Jones not happy with his response. He figures he would be treated like a hometown hero. And that's the thing. You can look at these kids just still absolutely going. Like one kid is jumping up and down in annoyance.
Yeah.
And this was like nearly 4 years ago now. So, I mean, this kid's probably, his late 30s now, still wanting to boo Dow Jones. I'm unaware of how time works. But
I had to take it in. I was going, nothing is ever going to be cooler than what is happening now. So I was really, really trying to milk it, going, I don't think I'm ever going to get this ever again. And I was super nervous.
Yeah, and I think the thing about it as well, like we talk a lot about, certainly you and I, but a lot about the presentation of what you're looking at here. I mean, this looks great. The cage looks great. Like I said, the all black thing, as I agree with Mitch in the chat, like looks fantastic. People everywhere. You even had a UKPW caged sign, which I assume you didn't just have around in case you happened to sign Brian Cage or something. Like there was a big there's a big match feel about this in a way that's kind of, it felt like something that wasn't just, your kind of regular show. And like I said, These kids want to see Dow Jones get destroyed by this guy Ashmore. And like you say, like he looks like a wrestler. I think that's such a big part of it as well. That again, the presentation, the physique, the athleticism that he's got. Like you want to see what this guy can do in a cage. You're not suddenly just restricted to the thing. There's a triple Boo Dow sign, a triple Boo Dow, which technically says Boo 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 Dow Dow Dow, but like. He could be a
But
Mario fan and a Dow Jones fan. But when you're in this cage right here, looking around, like, does it feel like, all right, I need to do something different here? Or are you thinking I'm gonna just stick to my usual game plan and see what the cage can do? Like, what are you thinking as this match starts right here?
Yeah. So what we wanted to do is establish that I know I'm trapped, and also establish that getting out the cage is hard, because in theory you might look at it and go, you can just run away. What's the problem? So what we wanted to do right at the beginning of the match was establish that Ashmore is clearly the better wrestler. I'm actually a coward. But then when I'm pushed, I can try and go, but Ashmore's better. So like there, I threw a punch, didn't really do much. He throws a punch, knocks me down. So it's like, right, okay, Ashmore is the better wrestler. The cage has neutralized Dow Jones running away. And then this is where we have I love this sequence. Cut him off. Yeah. Crowd goes boo, drop kick to the face. Yay.
Just even the drop kick. Forget the cage. That looked like it just hurts. Like, and it's hilarious because you've got the Naomi neon green light up boots in this match as well.
Yeah. So to compliment myself, it's the only time I'm ever going to do this in this match, is that one of the things I like to think I'm good at is bumping for other people. And it might have slowed down a bit there, so apologies. But I that's one of the reasons for the tassels, is that the tassels go flailing. I think it helps to the sell, because it looks like, oh, well, he really knocked him out of his boots. And then here, the commentary does a really good job here, because we wanted the commentary to go, Ashmore could win the match straight away. But what Ashmore wants to do is inflict pain onto Dow Jones. So we, as the phrase is, work the crowd. You do each side of the ring. So we're one side, next side.
This is classic cage match 101, isn't it? And like you mentioned it there, like no one wants to come get excited for a cage match that instantly ends by someone climbing out.
Yeah. Now the last one, I wanted to do a bit of a fun bump, and when I hit the cage, I forgot about the ropes. So I go over, and then I go, oh, because of course my neck has been crunched against the cage, because I've forgotten. Oh yeah, it is actually quite solid.
Yeah, I mean, it looks it as well. Like, it's not just like mesh all the way across. You see those kind of pillars, like two on each side, supporting the cage in the middle. So if you're bouncing off this cage, it's not like you're hitting like, you know, the outside of a tennis court thing that you just bounce straight off of. Like, This looks like it sucks. Like, it looks like it hurts a lot. And I think that's one of the things, like, I guess, you know, this is your first cage match. Like, thinking about it, were you kind of braced like, oh, when I hit the cage, it's going to hurt, but like, I don't really know what it's going to feel like? Or did you, because like you said, you didn't have time to go through it beforehand or get any kind of, I guess, practice? What were you doing? Were you like running against park fences? Like, that's pretty hard.
It's pretty hard.
Like maybe just diving into your bathroom door.
It was really more just how can I make this look good? And eventually it was just like, I'm just going to have to take it. And it's what I kept saying to Ashmore.
Well.
Yeah, he was like, Alex, I'm gonna hit you hard. I'm gonna do all these things. And I was like, no, that's fine. Because I tell you what, I really thought this match was gonna be.
Big standing moonsault.
I wanted this to be a showcase piece for Ashmore, to almost use as like a highlight reel, to go, look how good I am. Look at all these people that are like, my whole mission for this match was to make him look like that. Well, he already does, but to have the footage that looks cool, to go, look how good he is. And I was convinced by the following year that he'd be an NXT guy. You know what I mean? I really was. So for me, it was, so coming back to your point about the cage, I was like, I want to be in every move, because I want to be in one of them WWE documentaries in 5 years' time as I get beaten up.
I was watching the Drew McIntyre one the other day, and he was talking about like his original training. He was like, oh, if that picture gets in there,
yeah,
for one of you guys all at the was it the SWE Academy?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, if that picture's there and you're in it, I was like, I had my phone ready, like, oh, come on. But then it wasn't. They just showed a lot of other stuff, and then apparently he's done some stuff since then. Who knew?
So the thing that I need to sort of get off my chest as well, which might be one of the reasons why this match has never seen the light of day, is I'm so obsessed about getting it right for Ashmore. I'm remembering all of Ashmore's moves. I've genuinely forgotten my own. So now I'm going, I don't really know what I'm doing.
What were all the money puns I had?
Yeah. I'm going, I don't know what to do.
Because, one might say you've cashed out.
Yeah. So really, it's all about trying to get heat again. And you can hear the crowd are still going, Willy Wonka, boo. So I don't have to worry too much. But when it comes to doing moves, I was a bit like, I don't know what to do, because all I'm now thinking is the next sequence or the next part, which is why I'm not keen on planning a match from beginning to end, because I've got terrible short-term memory. And so what I'm doing now is basically, I don't want to say stalling for time, but it's like I don't really know what I want to do next, because I'm still in awe of the cage. I'm still in awe that this match is happening. I'm really flummoxed. So I'm really just going, right, I'm gonna whip him into the corner, and then he's gonna hit me back. I can't even remember what the sequence is now. There we go, yeah. And that's all I'm trying to do is go, right, what's the next thing I need to do to get Ashmore over?
I also think it's a big thing where you are doing that inadvertently, because no one wants to see Dow Jones sprinting around, flipping off the cage, doing all these cool moves. They want to see Dow Jones taking the pace down, slowing it down, especially against a guy like Ashmore, like a big drop kick like that, trying to cut off his athleticism, coming off the top rope with his big moves like that. That's what people, you can see, like the kids in the background there, like they hate that. And that's kind of what you want, because it's building up, all right, when's Ashmore going to kind of get above this, try and get some offense in, string some moves together. And you can see the getting out the cage, the worst way to win a cage match. That's why Nicky Dow Jones is, but he's not trying to get out the cage.
No, so one of the things I wanted to do a bit of a greatest hits kind of thing. So one of my favorite things is the green chair. And it's like, because I need to cheat, really, to compete with Ashmore. I need to cheat. So how can I cheat if I'm in a cage? I need the chair. So you'll notice I came out to the ring with the chair, and it was so one of my favorite things in wrestling is when they plant a seed that you don't notice at the time. So why would Dow Jones come out with a chair? This is obviously his plan. And then it's cunningly hidden as the ring step, if you see what I mean, into the ring.
Yeah.
So when Ashmore pulls me out, it makes perfect sense now why there's a chair in the ring.
Yeah,
because you're like, well,
I'm a huge fan of that kind of thing as well. Again, just planting it there. So, all right, he's got that, but then you forget about it because the match is going on. Like the one that always comes to mind for me is one of my favorite matches of all time, Kenny Omega versus Hiroshi Tanahashi from Wrestle Kingdom 13, where quite early on in the match they set a table up on the outside, and then they do a kind of will they go for it, and they don't, and then they go and continue a match for a good 20 minutes, and then by the time Tanahashi decides to put Omega on the table and go up to the top rope, go for an inside out high fly throw, you're like, I forgot that was even there. And then the point where you see Tanahashi pretty much die. I'm watching my favorite wrestler of all time, and I'm not sure that he's going to make it through. It's incredible. So just those kind of things, I think, just kind of planting those seeds are things that people can see. And then when you bring it back and it comes around, they're like, oh, I forgot about that. Like Dow Jones is trying to escape. Ashmore's cutting him off, but he still managed to get that thing that he planted earlier and get that chair in play. So now not only is Dow Jones trying to find a way to cut off Ashmore to stop him with the offense, but now he's bringing in a chair as well to help even more, because he knows that there's not many ways he can beat this guy. And I think that does bring into this match kind of what you're looking for in terms of not only storytelling, but also kind of anticipation of, is Dow Jones going to actually win this thing? Because you know that the kids hate it when Dow Jones wins anything. Even the belts he made up himself. Kids hate it when he wins those. Dow Jones is the Dow Jones champion. No one wants that.
So let's talk through what just happened over the last minute or so. This is what I mean by UKPW and a live audience. So on camera, it looks like I'm doing absolutely nothing. But if I turn the volume up, you could hear the crowd were really booing Dow Jones. So the doing nothing is actually just giving people looks, and I try and give as many people eye contact as possible, because I'm a big fan of, if you're watching a film, it's a static experience. It doesn't change. But when you're watching wrestling, if I look at someone in the eyes, I'm interacting with you. And so this is one of my favorite clips as well. So many great, just such a good drop kick.
Yeah,
and this is what I mean
I'm a big fan of that, like, straight drop kick. I mean, his kicks as well, I think that's the thing that stands out to me most about him. The drop kicks, the kind of springboard kicks, the top rope kicks, they all look deadly. And I think that's the thing, like going there, the way that you kind of knocks you straight back, fold up accordion style. It always looks like, I don't want to be in a match with this guy. Like, that's why I'm outside the cage, safe.
And you can hear, like, so I don't know. So I don't know how to feel about these kind of spots where we're both down, because for me at least anyway, I'm not very rarely against someone that can pull this off, but Ashmore does, because they're really behind him, and you could hear the crowd getting behind it. And I love the punches that Ashmore throws. And then I see where this goes. Big clothesline. And so now you can see it in my face. Like, I like to sell. But again, all I'm trying to do is remember, right, okay, this is next, we're doing this next. So, sorry, to go back to my original point. On camera, Ashmore's doing all the cool moves, but in the live audience, I'm trying to get them to react. There's that German suplex.
Big German suplex.
And I remember thinking, I need to make him look like a star. So I need to land as well as possible. But because I don't want to say I'd overjumped, but I wasn't expecting Ashmore to be so strong. Like, I know he's strong. So all of these, I'm now going, oh my God, I'm fine. And
that's the thing as well, because like, you're a big guy, and like, even, I mean, Ashmore is a pretty big guy as well, to be fair. But I think like to get the kind of elevation on that suplex like that, I can kind of see where you're coming from. Another big suplex. There it is. But yeah, I think that's kind of what stands out about Ashmore. Like, he looks like he can do that to anyone.
Oh, amazing.
Absolutely anyone.
Again, I can't stress enough. He's so good. And so what's happening now is that we can hear the crowd are reacting to all the moves now. They're like, right, he's on his comeback. He's going to do it. And then anytime I cut him off, you do hear an audible groan. So here comes sort of more moves to make Ashmore look good. And I mean, I love this move. This move is great.
It's the float over, yeah. And again,
So
with the athleticism of that guy. And again, to do that to a guy your size is not difficult to lift you up, plant you down as it is. So, I mean, I can't lift you up. And I am reasonably somewhat not very strong. So, and again, I think that's kind of what I think fits so well with these like two characters, both in terms of the style that they wrestle, but also in terms of how well it clicks together. I was, always impressed with the way, like you said, you're trying to get his moves over and make him look like the top guy. And the classic hit myself in the face with my own lime green chair after bouncing off the ropes. I love this kind of swimming in nothing as well. Like,
again, it's pantomime.
He's coming around for the big. What's he going to go for? Oh, big knee to the ref or the camera.
Yeah.
Oh, it was the ref. I like that reveal. Like, was it the ref? Was it did he go all the way up and knee the GoPro on top of the cage? But the ref is down. The referee is down.
As you say, Andy, like, don't get me wrong. People do want to watch. I think the sound's gone out. I think that's more on my end. Because I say I've never fully edited this match. So this is a rough cut as such. But yeah, sorry, like with the referee cam stuff. Oh, I think it's might sync back up again. Again, like that. Yeah. So again, all of his moves, and of course the referee's down.
Oh no! That never happens in professional wrestling.
So
and we can't have Charles Robinson running 200 miles sliding through the cage.
One of my regrets is this sequence. So Ashmore's hit basically essentially his finishing move, and he's got the pinfall. So what we were saying was I need to hit a big move on Ashmore, and I'm annoyed. If I could redo this, I would redo this, because we're about to do a big move, but I just don't think it's big enough for what happens. Really, I should have hit him with my finish. I don't know why I didn't. Looking back, you can always look at things a bit differently. But side note, I always love that Bret Hart, Owen Hart superplex from the cage. So this is the closest I'm ever going to get, because I can't get on the rungs of the cage. I wanted to, but that is the closest I'm ever going to get. And I remember hitting the mat, and then I bounced up, and I actually looked at my wife dead in the eyes when I landed. I was like, yeah, that actually did hurt. But I do this.
Why are you doing this?
Why are you doing this?
Why aren't you interested in like watercolor painting or something? Something a little bit safer. I mean, like I say, I've very, very little experience in a ring myself. I'd never even been in one until you set the one up that you bought in your garden, and it sucks. Like, it hurts. I don't want to do this. I'm just a fan. I just want to watch this. I don't want to actually do it. So, like, even looking at that kind of stuff, and I think it makes perfect sense there. Like, it makes sense because Ashmore is seeing what's happened. The referee's down. He's hit his finish. He's got the visual 3. The ref isn't there to count it, but he soon realizes, like, well, I can escape the cage because there's another referee to call the escape from the cage thing. So even though you're saying that move isn't necessarily a finish, that you would change it, it makes perfect sense the way you've done that, to catch him in that, grab him in the superplex, because that's cutting Dad off as well. And I remember, like, sitting around, like, the kids around us and everyone thought, oh, that makes sense. He's going for that escape. and then the big boos when Dow Jones hits that superplex. So like it's still an effective kind of piece and kind of makes sense logically. Unlike
So
this.
yeah, we'll cut to the finish here. So because I'd known that the match before was potentially going to be super lurker match of all time, I was thinking, right, well, we're going to be in the main event match. I need a go home move that's going to be like, yeah, that killed Dow Jones. That ends this feud. So I went to Ashmore this sequence, and he was like, I'll do it, but are you sure?
I
I'm
mean,
like, yeah,
I would be
for it.
saying that too. I mean, look at that. And I think it's perfect because it makes use of the cage. Like, the cage
Absolutely.
is the payoff there, that extra high. And if you look at that, there's no like spring in the knee. That is a bullet straight in through the heart. No one is kicking out from that.
I mean, while we're on there, I can't replay it, but while Ashmore is up at the top, he's literally looking at me going, I can just jump down and I can win the match. And I'm like, no. Like, so when I'm pointing at him, I'm like, you're going to jump on me. You're going to jump. And he was like, yeah, I okay, if you're sure. And then we go for it. And this was a real like relief moment. I was like, oh my God, we've done it. We've done it. Great. And I had Martin there, which was a big deal for me. Ashmore there, sort of like give me a little friendly slap going, cheers, mate. But you'll see that the crowd are having to go because we're overrun by almost an hour now. And people have got buses and things to catch. So one of the
This is a Sunday, right, as well, if I remember.
Yeah. So people have to get home. And what annoys me still to this day, and it's my own fault. I learned the lesson that I need to communicate with as many people as possible. Because what I wanted to happen was obviously Ashmore gets all the attention, all the stuff goes to Ashmore. I wanted no attention. I wanted everyone to leave me alone because I wanted the fans to leave, like literally people like ushering them out, and I wanted to be dead in the ring. I wanted no fans to be in the ring or in the room because I wanted it to feel like he had killed me. He had essentially killed. But the problem, and this is, I take it as a compliment, no one was leaving. I say no one, but people, as you can see, people are still hanging about, and they hang around for ages. But of course, everyone's waiting for me to get out of the ring. And I'm thinking, no, because I need to sell the move that Ashmore's just done.
I mean, it does look deadly. I mean, I see Martin in the chat here saying, so he chose a straight up execution. And that is kind of what it looked like. Like, it looked like there was a good point here where we were like, I'm not sure he's okay.
Now, I will dispute this with anyone. I know Martin has said this many, many times to me, but I would dispute. I was perfectly fine. I mean, don't get me wrong, I did hit my head against the mat quite hard.
That was the thing, because it was, again, it's the no spring in the knees. It's like, you know how arrows don't have a spongy middle bit? That's what that looked like, right? No knees bend, straight up from I mean, that cage, I mean, if we're doing wrestling math, that's 40 feet high. But realistically, that's about, 10, 12 feet high? Like, coming down on you, like, and there's probably a good 4 or 5 feet clearance time before he actually hits you. So, like, I've heard of this thing called gravity, which apparently pulls things towards the surface of the earth. So, like, that's come right down. Fetisora says, he's dead, Jim. And, yeah, it really kind of felt like it. And I remember, like, a lot of the kids were like, oh, we really want to boo Dow Jones, he's lost. But, like, is he okay? Like, there was a whole bit of that, but then they're still booing you because,
no one's leaving. It's really annoying because I'm like, no, and I can't shout out to anyone like, get them away.
Yeah.
I'm stuck now, and I'm like, I can't leave.
But it's funny.
But this is the point. I was like, I want to stay there as long as I can.
You look at that whole row of people that you can see there. Look at you, like everyone's looking like, is he all right?
Is he okay?
Usually Dow Jones loses. He does something funny, and then now it's like, is he going to make it? Like, I don't know what's going on. So looking back on it, like, I'm sure you've got some other thoughts as well. Like, is it kind of what you thought it would be? Like, is there anything that surprised you about doing it, or anything that came in and made you feel like, oh, this was a surprise. I wasn't expecting this. I know you said you would have changed that one move, but other than that, like, is there anything that really surprised you about actually doing this?
Some fun things, really. So firstly, that now we had some really cool footage to use in any promotional material. That was the first thing. So the idea of that double stomp was that, imagine playing that out with no context. People are going to go, that happened in Gillingham?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got to go
Yeah,
to the next
absolutely.
one,
Yeah.
right? So that was a big tick. The second thing is it must have done something right, because all of a sudden now I started getting inquiries from other promotions going, oh, can we have Dow Jones at our place? And which was good for me, obviously. Now,
We wish for him to die on our show too.
yeah, but what more specifically, there's a video, I haven't got it to hand, but there's a video where it's about a minute of footage from that match only from the GoPro. So it's only from the GoPro angle. And it's things like the German suplex, the super kick. Basically, it's all of Ashmore doing moves against me. And of course, the fans are like, yeah, Ashmore looks amazing. But some of the workers, I think, were like, my God, he made that, the guy bumping is cool. I like that guy. So it definitely got me a bit of traction. The thing that I sort of regret, and it goes back to what I said earlier, this was the match that made me go, I now know what my biggest weakness is: wrestling moves. As ironic as that sounds, I was like,
That's not important for a wrestler, though.
So I was like, so from this match onwards, at least for about 18 months, every match I would have a new move. I would try a different move. So it might be a pump handle slam done slightly differently, a new submission hold, because I found myself in that match, as I said, like, I don't know what to do next. And it's not like I don't know moves. It was just like, where do I need you? So yeah, I look back and there's so many more things I would do, because in the context of that match, the people know Dow Jones. They understand, people are booing. So for the context of the match in that arena, 9 out of 10 in my opinion for what it was meant to do. Watching it back, especially for anyone that's new to UKPW, it doesn't exactly explain that Dow Jones was the top heel. Do you know what I mean? Like, in that match, from a TV audience, Dow Jones has not been put over, but Ashmore has. So I'm nitpicking, but my goal for that match was to make sure that Ashmore looked amazing and we had really good clips to, in the future, promote UKPW.
And I think that kind of links back to what you were saying earlier as well about, potentially, for it to be for the belt might have done that. Again, from people that aren't familiar with it, maybe they haven't seen the whole Beard storyline going through. They haven't seen Dow Jones escaping, but you see this guy coming out that the kids are all up in his face. You see him carrying that championship. You see this other, athletic, strong guy come in, do cool moves and win. I've just watched this match. That makes sense. Everyone gets that. So I kind of get where you're coming from there as well. So, I mean, like I say, from a fan point of view and from being there on the day, like, it's my favorite UKPW match. When I came to you with this idea to do this show, I very deliberately picked this one because, again, there's so much. I don't think we've ever actually talked too much about it. Like, we didn't at the time, because I did feel that you had actually died. And I remember sitting by your wife. I'm like, I'm sure he's fine. Thinking, I'm not sure he is. I'm not sure he is fine.
Well, to cut you off there.
What I am thinking is, I was like, don't worry. If you need any help in the future, I can help you financially. He
To cut you off slightly there. So one of my absolute favorite moments in life happened about 5 minutes after this match. So I'm in the ring. I'm waiting for everyone to go. No one's leaving. And I felt awful because I had to get up. I had to now, in my eyes, sell the move that Ashmore's done. Now, of course, I've been selling for 3, 4, 5 minutes. But in my head, it's like, no, I should be stretching out, really. Anyway, go backstage, fine, high fives from people, really good match, great. Ashmore, I believe, was happy with everything. But then the really cool thing that happened was then I'm getting changed. And obviously, like, as you say, you, my wife, and a lot of our close friends were at the show, which was, I consider it, as I say, possibly my favorite. Well, it's the reason why it's my favorite match is that everyone I cared about was there live. It was a great video. And then I had a really nice, so as you say, it was April 7th. It was the day before my 29th birthday. And so then, and I'll do this for demonstration purposes, arguably the greatest gift I've ever had, which was from Martin, which is the Dow Jones pop figure. And he gave it to me after the match. And let alone the fact that
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. That's the only time I've ever been in that, like, backstagey bit. Yeah, I remember that now. Because we did come to see if you were still alive.
Oh my God, it overwhelmed me. I think that's why they thought I had a concussion, because I couldn't fathom everything that had just happened in the last hour. So I just had the greatest match of all time. I've wrestled in a cage. All my friends and family were there, and oh my God, this is the best present ever. And
the only thing that would have made that better is if mine had a bit more foresight and it got that pop made with 2 like footprints in the chest. that would have been the one. Martin, next time you do custom pops, anticipate what might happen in a match, and get that done. But yeah, no, like I say, I remember like that kind of thing. Like, what did Ashmore say to you afterwards? Like, what was his thoughts on the match?
Yeah, I mean, Ashmore is a perfectionist, which is why I admire him so much. And he was like, cheers. Like, obviously, like he was like, great. The short answer is, yeah, great, brilliant. Because if I get into his head, I don't think he would have said it to my face. He might have said it to my face. But I think he was a little bit anxious going, Dow's not exactly known for his mat work, if you see what I mean. But then on the flip side, sorry.
You telling me that Dow Jones isn't Ricky Steamboat?
However, I think once he'd gone out and then we were both in the ring and the audience were getting behind it, I think that anxiety disappeared from him. And I mean, Ashmore's always good, but when you look at some of them moves, and I can't stress this enough, I mean, at the time, I think I was 17.5 stone. He is throwing me around like I'm 10 stone, like super
absolutely.
easy.
I mean, that's what I was saying like earlier in the match. Like, it looks great. Like, you believe that he can do those things to anyone, and it makes him look great. So I think even at that aspect, like I get what he means about perfectionist. I think, certainly, I mean, obviously not in wrestling, but I kind of have the same mentality as things I do. And you never look back and be like, yep, absolutely nailed it. But I think one thing that does kind of stand out is the way that you kind of say, like, there's bits you would have changed, but I guess the overall experience of it is kind of even more than what you kind of anticipated. So just a couple of questions before we sign off. Looking forward to the future. UKPW restart coming up at some point, COVID depending, hopefully real soon. Looking at the roster you've got, the talent you've got on book, what 2 guys do you want to see in a cage match in future for UKPW?
Oh, now there's a great question. So
I'm
going to say
you for that, really. But
yeah, there's tons. There's tons of people because I know this is a bit of a politician's answer, but one of my not so secret goals is I want the wrestlers to get experiences like I did there. Now, don't get me wrong, I had to force it, if you see what I mean. Like, I'm going to create my own opportunity here. So what I sort of want to do is to do that for other people. So names that come to mind instantly are people like Roy Johnson, Charles Crowley. I'll tell you what would be interesting. I don't want to go out as far and put a name on it, but it'd be interesting to have a women's cage match. I'd be intrigued to see how that would go.
Absolutely.
I'd like to, and actually, sorry, I've just seen one of the comments. Yes, Alexander Roth in a cage would be amazing.
I mean, he's another one of those guys, again, just comes out, looks the part. And I think if there's a cage match coming, you see Alexander Roth on the poster standing, next to the cage, in front of the cage, that's something you want to see. I mean, that's kind of one of the guys that came to mind for me in terms of that. And yeah, straight up in the chat, fantastic in a cage. So I think, definitely keep an eye on what's going to happen in the future. I think you've shown that you can do it. You've shown the production looks great on it. And while it's not something you're going to see every week, I think it's definitely a spectacle and something big that people do want to see. And there's a lot of guys that you do want to see. And like, if you're watching the VOD on this, like, leave a comment. Who do you want to see in a cage match near you? Because, like I say, pretty rare. So, and finally, just to wrap it up, final thoughts on this match.
I mean, it's my favourite match, obviously, but I think that might be more down to the sentimental side of things. But actually, and almost to tie it in quite nicely, is I would love to bring up the highlight video, because actually, I think the whole show was great. And if I just bring that over there, if I just turn that down so you can still, like, the show was so good as a whole. Everyone brought their A game. There was brilliant wrestling, as you say. So as the comments said, ring was the black ring. We got as many wrestlers on the show as we could. There was a good, I think it was 250. I think 250, maybe approaching 300 people in the audience. Like, I love these shots where you can see that it's essentially sold out. I know it's not sold out, but there's in theory not many empty seats, if any.
Absolutely. I think, going through, like, exactly to what you say there, like looking at the thing, that's not a very accurate description of what I mean. Looking at the kind of the video, the highlights, I think what you're seeing, especially from these matches as well, is you're seeing something different from every match as well. Like I said, I know you had the other cage match, and I know you said, if it was the workhorse cage match or the tag match that happened, but there were 2 very different cage matches as well. And I get the practicality of doing it that way, but you know, I think certainly for me, as a fan point of view, I think you watch a lot of shows today and you see the same things in almost every match. You know, the amount of kind of top rope dives you get every match, and it kind of all kind of blurs into one. Whereas you look at this kind of card, like again, remember being there. Always good to see a guy come out with a guitar. Big fan of that. Because my first instinct is, can he actually play it? Do you know for a fact if Sammy Smooth can play the guitar?
I think he can. He can. Maybe
right.
Oasis Wonderwall, but he can definitely play.
Yeah, rock them 3 chords. Everyone could play Wonderwall. I could teach you to play Wonderwall, like from here. It wouldn't be difficult. But yeah, so looking at the match, looking at the card, like, you know, I think this, you guys sold this as a big event. Like, and I remember around the time of year it's big event time for a lot of companies. But again, you know, having that information, the interest, the buzz on it, having the cage. I mean, you just look at the kind of time lapse here of the cage going up, and it's, you know, it's something that the people want to see. And again, I know we said it time and time again on this, but it's not something you see often. And again, like I said, not something I've seen since. So you said this was before your 29th birthday. So was this 2016?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, I thought I said 27. I did say 2017. So we can't cut it out because we're live, pal. So it was 7th of April 2016.
That's the one.
So here we are, Dow Jones Ashmore cage match 2016. Don't get that wrong. So man, 5 years. It's been 5 years.
I know.
So when I mentioned that kid was about 45 earlier, and I have no concept of time, the fact I got the year wrong as well backs that up. And again, like you said as well, you wanted to, you know, you've always got your kind of eye on editing as well in terms of promo videos and highlight reels, something you do in kind of every aspect of your life. I can't wait to see the highlight video of us talking about a highlight video. But again, it's something that, you know, as a kind of, you know, working on video editing myself, like it's something you can kind of see. And I think it kind of helps to picture in what you do in wrestling, that you can visualize what you want it to look like when people watch it back, not only just live with, as you were talking about, the interaction with the audience, but also when you watch it back. You know, if you missed this, there's no way you're watching this not thinking, man, I better check out that next show. So
exactly.
Absolutely.
And before we go, again, I must give shout out to Anton Green, because it's his show. It was his that, like, the thing we must stress is that there's a subtle difference. So when you see the new logo that's in the top corner, that's essentially the new UKPW. That's mine,
it's
Jack Martin.
So hard to point it there.
So one of the reasons for the new logo was to establish, like, as nasty as it might sound, but I mean it in the best possible way, is to go that there is a difference. So the round logo is the Anton Green shows, and everything you see with the old archive, that's with Anton's blessing. So Anton was like, yep, go for it, do it. That's great. What I'm looking forward to going forward is that I'm going to get in trouble with the other owners, but essentially what I say goes. Like, we're going to film it this way. It's going to be done this way. So I'm looking forward to showing off what 100% creative freedom we can do.
Absolutely. And of course you're in charge. How else would I have got on of this? Like, I just said, let's do this. And you were like, all right. Okay, so that's going to wrap it up for the first ever and pilot edition of UKPW Rewind, clocking in a nice hour. So thank you guys for in the live chat, for your comments, for watching along with us. You know, let us know if you're watching on the VOD, be it YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. What matches do you want to see us talk about? What people do you want to see on the show talking about the match? You know, it would have been great to have Ashmore here. We decided on quite short notice to do this, and just to kind of still testing out how we're going to do it. But let us know what matches, what people, what you know, what kind of stuff do you want to see looking back as we lead up to UKPW Restart coming real soon? So from Alex and from myself, it's just time to say goodbye, drink plenty of water, and watch pro wrestling.